legal problems that exist in just bringing forward full disclosure, which is that now you've got corporations that have made billions of dollars with government contracts, and other corporations that didn't have access to this, and there may not be a precedent for what the legal ramifications of that are, and they may need to work that out. If the plan is for this to come out, which it sounds like there's those within the government that are wanting it to, and then a pretty large faction of people that don't, and the ones that don't, it's probably all money, unless it's you kind of get into the philosophical, religious, ontological.
Are we, as a society, ready to accept that we're not alone? I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
There's a widely thought of, what's the right word? Just it's not there's suppressing information from even the president of the United States. It's like even though these whistleblowers are coming forward, it's going to be news to a lot of people in the White House, because they're not getting the information. So what is the entity that has this? Is it associated? It's a black budget project, but
someone said it doesn't seem like the president has oversight into this.
No,
right?
It's a need to know basis.
That's why David Grush said it was illegal, because there's no congressional oversight.
There you go. That's who I've seen his interviews, and he described Stephen Greer or Grush as well, right? There's two
separate.
Dr. Stephen Greer, he's another guy who blows the whistle on this repeatedly forever.
Yeah. Supposedly he had the uncle that worked on the Apollo, missions, and supposedly he had the inside track on a lot of
really fascinating topic, because he has brought forth so many of these things that are now coming out already.
20 years ago, 10 years ago.
And people are just ignoring him because he went maybe too far down the rabbit hole, and he's doing these CE5.
You gotta warm people up with bite-sized info. You can't directly go back to.
Well, he was an ER doctor, right? And then he supposedly gave that all up so that he could help get the truth out. And my biggest issue is that he's trying to profit off a lot of these individuals. But he's the one that coming forward saying there's this consciousness that connects everything, multi-dimensional consciousness. And so he supposedly
he's aligned with Billy Carson. Those guys kind of believe the same.
Yeah, so he takes these folks out in the desert, and I believe it's Arizona, and has a limited number of spaces, and they, by his consciousness, helps bring forward UAPs, but there's no evidence from all of this. Like, he's just going to take a few people out and take their money and profit off of this stuff and deliver no evidence. Like, wouldn't it be for the good of humanity to release this information?
Do you guys remember the movie Leap of Faith with Steve Martin?
I never watched it.
He's a evangelical, phony, is like in Vegas or somewhere, and then his bus tour breaks down in Kansas, and they're just like, we'll just set up shop here, and they just have people coming in, and they work the crowd to know this person's having an affair with this person, and then they use that to save people, and that's a big fake thing,
I feel like I've seen it,
and it just reminds me. So the Greer thing and bringing people out, and they're all paying money, and then they'll see something going by in the sky, and they'll point his laser at it, and they'll be like, "We did it, we collectively." But it's always, if it doesn't work, it's because there's somebody here that doesn't believe, and it comes back to it's the collective consciousess all has to be working together to.
Yeah, he did. So, if you get into other figures that have really been big names in it, I always go, my number one guy is I'm super fascinated in any of his interviews. Like we're talking, it's Bob Lazar. Since 1989, he's been telling this story. And he wasn't a guy that, he doesn't seem like he doesn't want to tell it. He doesn't enjoy the process of this. However, he understands the importance. So he does.
Yeah, he lost his job.
Yeah.
He's been harassed. He gets the government coming after him. And you got George Knapp involved now because he's the one that, did the interview back in 1989. And George Knapp is now one of the originators of Skinwalker Ranch and was part of that whole thing with Bigelow. Once Bigelow bought the property, and he was involved with that. And so George Knapp to this day because of the Lazar interview, has dedicated his life to this UAP research, and just he believed it wholeheartedly. And everybody that knows Lazar, I think personally, knows that he's telling the truth, and his story never changed, like you said. And they said he never worked at Los Alamos, but he was in the phone directory. They see a picture of him in the phone directory. He knew everybody when George Knapp took him for a tour. At Los Alamos, he knew everybody there. He knew the layout. He knew where to go. Those aren't the kind of things if you've never been employed there. And then there's like, well, maybe he was a contractor, with Los Alamos, but he didn't work there full time. Then you start trying to find loopholes.
At some point, like I mentioned, if this was any other area that we're investigating, the proof is there, right? But since it's into the alien territory, it's just like, no matter what you say, I'm not going to.
Yeah. I mean, for me, again, I think I said this in a previous podcast, but, when he did the interview and he was talking about the anti-gravity propulsion, how it builds like a electromagnetic field around this UAP, and that's how it zips around so quickly, and then talking about Commander Fravor with the pill-sized tic-tac that he witnessed, and, being a man of fact and, has no previous in relation to UAPs, but yet he just takes it with the radar that he has, and it moves just like what Bob Lazar described back decades ago. So, to me, it's patterns.
So what's the? Oh yeah, that's right.
I was just gonna say, what if I'm asking you guys, what is your if Bob Lazar? So, what's your best piece of evidence that you've seen? Like, what's if you're gonna
what I just described?
If you're gonna bring somebody into this who has not been paying attention, that may be open but is not spent a lot of time looking into the UFO subject, and they're kind of going, "What's all this stuff going on in Congress right now?" Show me your best, because we obviously don't have any physical proof. There's lots of videos and pictures, but how do you know?
So that's why I wanted to watch that documentary yesterday that I did, the aerial phenomenon one, is because I just heard about it. I hadn't seen it. Stuff like that, it's important for people that are skeptics to just sit down and watch it. Don't argue with it. Don't enter into your viewing with a preconceived notion like this is garbage. Just watch it like you would any other documentary with an open mind, and you'll come out of there, unless there's nothing that can be said or done to change your mind. You'll come out of there with a different perspective, minimum. You'll see things different, and I think my biggest piece of proof would be just the remarkable consistencies of these stories across decades, across, so many numbers of people. And as you listen to these interviews from all of the different folks, whether it's just a one-time encounter up to the folks that, like Michael Lazar, who worked on the material, the puzzle pieces kind of fit together across this whole thing. And then, I think we talked about this a little bit last time. Billy Carson, to me, he's like the sci-fi, pastor. I love that guy, man. Even if, sometimes I'm just like, whoa, what on earth? Where is that? What is this guy talking about right now? One of his big things is, several 100,000 years ago, they adjusted the DNA, removed the telomere caps to put an age limit on, whatever the case is. One of the theories is aliens now, they still come back, and when people are, captured or kidnapped, and they have these experiences on the alien craft, is one of the theories is that they're simply checking on how we continue to evolve with the adjusted DNA that they've given us. And I see how that could make sense. If I had changed a race of DNA to try to, I would probably try to check on the progress if I had some sort of vested interest in this. But I don't know.
I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie Explorers when you were a kid with.
About 10 million times.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies, but it was the same type of concept, which blows my mind. When I always look for little hints of truth in a fictional world, because a lot of times Hollywood takes a little bit of truth and sensationalizes it, as we talked about with Men in Black. But it was one of Ethan Hawke's first movies as a kid, and River Phoenix was in it as well. And just the story is based on. This was back when computers were first started coming out. They developed this little bubble, and this little bubble could go through land. It could go through water. It was almost like an anti-gravitational bubble. It doesn't necessarily move gravity, but it could just go through anything because it was that hard. And so they're like, well, what happens if we enlarge this a little bit and put it around some sort of vehicle? And so they went to a junkyard and got an old carnival ride that was like a half-shaped, one of those things that swiveled around. It was a half-shape. You could fit 3 people in it. Yeah, it was a spherical ride. And
Flight of the Navigator.
that was another good one. But anyway, they made it bigger, and they put, and it protected them, and they could go into space with it. They could go in underground with it. And it's like, well, maybe there's these little hints of truth that somebody knew decades ago about these kind of things and built a world around it, and made it look, so today we look back at that movie and be like, well, maybe that could be, but yeah, they presented it in such a way that it's like fictional. So it's like, wow, that was just a movie.
Well, if you go down the rabbit hole and you start, so now if you come at it from the perspective, you believe it's all true. Right? So these things that people are saying, the descriptions, and so now you're like, so we've had this stuff since at least 1947. Actually, the Italian one's 1933. Yeah. So, okay, so we've been studying this stuff for that long. It kind of makes sense.
You mean just our
collective
government? No, the alien story goes back, thousands and thousands of years. I'm just like, the U.S. government cover-up started basically in the 30s is what is being described. Because apparently with Mussolini over in Italy or whatever the case is,
the Vatican.
Yeah, we somehow cooperated to cover up what occurred, and then we confiscated any evidence. So
I don't know.
That was apparently the start of our involvement in the cover.
Yeah,
from what I'm gathering. Right. So, but I mean, I don't know. I go down a few YouTube holes, but ancient Indians had all kinds of alien encounters. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, like, it's not just, it didn't just start in the 30s, but our involvement did from a cover-up perspective.
Well, that's kind of what makes, to me, Skinwalker Ranch so interesting. I mean, the Skinwalker is a Native American legend. There is petroglyphs on the ranch of what they described, the Native American people described as portals that describe a method of getting to the other dimension. I don't know if they call it dimension, but whatever you want to call it, it's this other. It's happened. It's this other place that's not here physically. It's somewhere else. And those are hundreds, if not thousands, of years old, and they're all over the place. I mean, that story about ancient people looking and having stories about people from the stars or from heaven coming down and influencing their, I mean, even just the Greek stories of bringing fire and like knowledge of was it the Sumerian story that and that Thoth or who I don't know. Yeah, these stories about from thousands and thousands of years ago, predating like the Egyptians, where these gods taught us how to
gave us the wisdom and the tools to build society.
And so it's easy to believe that we just described that, because we think, well, where did we figure out how to do this? There must have been somebody that came down. It wasn't just we were trial and error, and then it just kind of.
So apparently, there's an evolutionary gap in how we came from apes to current mankind. There's this little bit of a gap that we simply can't bridge.
And it happened so quickly.
And it happened quick enough to where that's where I'm like, Billy Carson, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's where you're like, all right. Hey man, I wasn't there. I don't know. But it makes sense if you want to allow yourself to be open-minded about it, right?
Well, you look at the science,
It correlates with the stories of time. Yep. It correlates with the tablets, the Sumerian tablets, talking about them creating humans for labor to mine gold on this planet and etc.
Which is basically the business model of society that's still followed today, right?
So, which supposedly was what was told to Jimmy Carter, right? Back when Jimmy Carter was trying to find out the truth, and supposedly word got out that he was a very big man of faith, and he had seen some UAPs as a senator in Georgia, I believe, and along with other people. I mean, he wasn't the only one that saw this UAP, so he vowed that if he was to make it as president of the United States, that he was going to find out the truth on but presidents are on a need to know. But they supposedly told him, and he went and just bawled, and he cried for, I don't know, what was it, a half hour? I think I was reading, and then came back out. And
did it say why? I think, wasn't there a specific reason? Or
well,
something?
it was. We were created by a alien, like what Bert was just talking about, and we were created by an alien race that was designed to be used for labor. And
Lou Elizondo, one of the most famous things that goes around in ufology is when he was being interviewed, and he's very dodgy, and he's got these NDAs that he doesn't want to say information that he swore to protect, etc. But he drops little hints, and so people ask him kind of indirect questions. So why don't, since you don't want to tell us what it is or the full truth, why don't you just tell us how we would react if we heard the truth?
Ooh.
And so what about the day after disclosure? What does it look like? And the word that he used was somber. And so
that's interesting. So one of that kind of ties into I wish I had a specific here, but someone was describing an encounter and what the alien had communicated to them, and the alien telepathically basically said, "I feel sorry for you humans because you have no idea of what is really occurring and the potential that you could achieve."
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a sad communication, like, I literally am sad for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of ties in, like, dang, we could be cool, but we're somehow an enslaved race from.
Well, Lou, I think in a later interview, described, because people ask him about that, and he's like, well, I think we all think that we're the center of the universe, Is
that what makes us sad when we learn that
we're not at the top of the food chain?
Yeah, we're a pawn. Even humanity is a pawn.
We're one of
in the global or the universal scale.
Yeah, and there are others out there that are way more advanced spiritually and intellectually, etc.
I don't think I'd be sad about that. I mean, like, literally, if I learned the actual truth, I'd be like, maybe I'd feel bad for, I don't know. I mean, but there'd be a part of me that would be like,
collectively, yeah.
Cool.
No, I think
I've seen enough sci-fi I think I'm emotionally prepared.
That's the thing, though, is that a lot of these alien beings, they don't have the emotions that we have. They're such high intellectual, which is why they like to study us and to know what's going on. They don't see the love and the hate and the emotional human existence. They weren't created or designed in that fashion. So from what I've read, CS is really interesting. Okay. Because what goes along with love is hate and warfare, and
we're probably so illogical in what our society makes no sense at all, right?
The Vulcans out there think,
or the Star Trek, the Data, the AI bot from Star Trek or whatever.
Well, that gets into when you get into the people that how they know this stuff, they're talking to people that are doing like astral projection or something where they know all the different races of aliens that are out there, and they know how many there are. I mean, it's fascinating listening to people that just say these numbers as if they just know they're true. But the gray aliens that everybody kind of talks about, the 4 foot tall, big eyes, sort of grayish skin, etc., are widely believed in the UFO circles to be not to be produced, to be almost like a generated organism that's not the actual aliens, but it's just kind of like a worker drone type,
some sort of avatar.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
And so thinking about how they probably lack any real sense of emotion or maybe even a soul, that
or it could be, future humans that have created these things to come back and like tell us things and warn us and those kind of things too. Because
like
supposedly we're already reverse engineering. I mean,
that's one of my favorite theories. These are just future humans coming back to check us out from thousands of years from now. Yeah, they've speaking of which, Ray Kurzweil, you guys familiar with him, the futurist? I've tried to read material of his. He just it's far above my pay grade.
Is that the guy from the future?
Yeah, so he's made a career off of basically graphing technological advancement throughout time, and then he looks ahead on the graph and says where we're going to be in 10 or 20 years, and then he patents devices that technology isn't even capable of producing yet. But then when it does happen, he's already got the patent on it, and so he just makes royalties off of this. Google hired him to lead up their, anti-aging, solve the aging for humanity division. He's a well-known futurist. He's got all kinds of great speeches. So he's also somewhere like 90% accurate on his predictions from 20, 30 years ago to what things would look like today. He is saying, and this is stuff that I read recently, but in the 20s, in this decade, that nanobots will then solve aging to where, curing diseases, the medical tech that will be produced from nanobots will then, allow us to live forever and replace our normal eating habits with some sort of, nano capability where you just you don't have to eat anymore, I guess, because these nanobots take care of things for you.
Oh wow!
So interesting piece there. By the 2030s, which is obviously rather coming up, virtual reality is going to be indistinguishable from actual reality. We'll feel 100% real, and you won't be able to understand
Ready Player
the
One.
difference. Yeah. So uploading and downloading your consciousness is next decade.
They're already doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, nano. So I'm saying but
mass produced.
Mass produced.
Yeah.
Common use, common technology. Right by the 2030s, 2040s. This is where you get into non-biological intelligence. It's going to be 1 billion more times powerful than any biological intelligence capabilities. So we're certainly trending that direction, right?
Well, for all those people that have been saying, where's the Jetsons future that we've been promised for so long? The FAA just a few days ago came out with the very first approval for a flying car.
The flying car. Now, I didn't see this headline. I don't think I read into it. What is it? Is it propeller, like helicopter style based, or what is it looking like?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
all electric.
Yeah, all electric. I mean, it's up to 100 miles in the air, 200 miles on the ground. Pre-ordering for 300,000.
Can you just land in your backyard and take off in your
That's the
backyard?
question. So, talking to my folks, we were out in the country last night, thinking, this trip that normally takes us an hour might take us half that if.
Okay.
When
just getting
these things become more, so you figure about 10 years. So these will be out in 2025.
Are they noisy though? That's the problem with I think any of these flying vehicles. It's just how unbelievably noisy the prototypes.
Think about it like a drone.
Yeah, you don't really hear a drone at all. They sneak up on you. I mean,
can you? They're pretty high pitched from the ones that I maybe they're better.
I don't hear them unless they're on top of me.
Okay.
I don't hear them coming. I don't.
So here's another thing that Kurzweil's predicting, which I think was fascinating. By 20, I don't know what it, 20, in the 2040s, I would get this right, nanotech foglets, that's what he called them, will create food out of thin air and any physical object at a whim. So you're just like, man, I feel like, a margarita. There it is, right? And that's the Star Trek holodeck type stuff. But apparently, something you can consume that's just created out of thin air. This is Ray Kurzweil, who's 90% accurate on his predictions to date, or 87%, something like that.
Wow.
It's not that far away.
So there's that book up there. He's got The Singularity is Near. I tried to read that, dude. I got like 30, 40 pages deep before I just couldn't figure out what was going on anymore. And dude, it's like a 400-page book, and he keeps going. And where he started to lose me in terms of like how he was trying to describe the science behind it was how every molecule in existence in the universe will be saturated with unlimited, data and knowledge, that the accumulation of all data and knowledge that exists. And I don't know how to wrap my mind around that one. So that's where I shut off the recurs.
Yeah.
I'll read some of that.
You go down the rabbit hole of UFO technology and some of the things that they are saying. Like, for example, the past, present, and future all exist at once, and linear time is a human construct that doesn't actually exist.
Wow. Which is cool. And I've tried to do some. It's hard to imagine because we've only existed in this dimension that obviously time does exist, right?
You guys
As
know
far
how
as
time was created? Like where the first clock came from?
That'd be Egyptians, right? The ancient Egyptians. No.
Well, it was from the monks. It was from the monks that would set certain times of day so they could pray. Is where it was originally designed from.
Did they steal that from the Egyptians? Which is pretty common. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Never got into
Egyptians.
I literally saw a YouTube clip or something on the same topic yesterday saying they measured the first hour and that's how, whatever. I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Yeah, it was. It was designed so that they could pray at certain times of the day. I mean, that was. Yeah, maybe there was sun.
But
the
it's not
sand
they
going
just
down.
invented the measurement of time. Just
Right.
because you've now invented a way to measure it doesn't mean it didn't exist prior.
Sure, I mean, history can be lost. I mean, who knows? Maybe the previous civilization before ours, had some futuristic technology that we didn't know about and was lost.
So, trying to imagine what something would be like without the use of time is hard to do because we've always kind of thought of it that way. But that's why, like, if time travel to the future and the past is ever created, then all things, like, time no longer exists because all things are happening now, no matter what. You can always go back and forth. Maybe that's part of what's at play here with additional dimensions.
So where my mind goes with that is this idea that consciousness can affect energy. All matter in the universe is energy, and that is a weird concept. So these physical atoms and things, all they are is balls of energy that are kind of uniformly put together.
Percent empty, right?
Well, I think what we've come to find out is it's 100% empty as far as what we think about matter, like a physical.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. We learned that in school that an atom is 99% empty space, and so then there's these little balls that are physical balls that are moving around, right? Well, turns out those balls are just balls of energy. I think that's the latest.
So it's not even a physical object that's moving around.
Yeah. But even just the concept that, like, this table, the atoms that make it up are just, it's just empty space, and it's just hard to.
So there's a good depiction on this. Speaking of really deep, impactful
midichlorians.
That's right.
Speaking of deep, impactful movies, I did go see The Flash a couple days ago. And one of his moves is he vibrates super fast to pass through walls, and they get into detail. They show his molecules vibrating past the other molecules in existence.
That's cool.
Wow, pretty cool little visual. The rest of them, it's an entertaining movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Who's in it? Who's the Flash?
Ezra.
I didn't know if it was a big name actor.
No, I don't think so.
It's the same guy that was the Flash in the previous.
No, I don't know.
So big
DC.
Ben Affleck's in it as Batman.
Michael Keaton too. Right?
Yeah, Michael Keaton. That's the one where Michael Keaton reprises his role.
Oh wow!
And then George Clooney at the very end is also Batman, just for a moment.
Oh.
Right.
It's kind of like when they bring all the Spider-Man.
Does he have his bat nipples?
No. He just shows up and has a couple of lines right at the end.
I never watched his Batman movie.
No,
you didn't.
No.
I didn't even think of it.
How could you miss that?
Yeah, I just could not see him in that role, and I just wasn't interested.
I think Keaton was the best.
I think everyone agrees those were the worst. Those.
Keaton was the OG, man.
Yeah, Keaton was the best.
That was when I was growing up. I had the Batmobile, and I had the little missiles that shot out. And,
well, you always, you always remember your first.
Well, that was when they made the Batmobile look cool, compared to the one from the 50s.
So my understanding is they were going to make another Michael Keaton Batman film depending on the success of The Flash.
Okay.
And since it didn't do very well, they're not going to do it.
Oh.
He did a good job. I mean, it was cool seeing him come back.
Well, how old is he now to play Batman? They're like,
dude, he did just fine.
Do they have a Robin?
He's much more believable as Batman than Ben Affleck is.
Oh yeah,
to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was.
So, and I was trying to explain this as it was happening to. Was it? I can't remember which one of my daughters came with me. But,
he was so entrenched in the movie.
No, I mix up my kids all the time. Is that you that was there?
What's your name?
I was trying to explain. I was like, "Hey, this is the Batman."
But he remembers the dog. Roscoe, you're not in here.
Yeah. Exactly. So I was trying to explain, like, this is the Batman, because it was an important part of the movie. Like Michael Keaton was now involved, and I was like, hey, this is the Batman that I watched when I was growing up. And
Right.
they're just like, whatever, dude.
Mm-hmm. They bring DeVito back as the Penguin.
That'd be sweet. But back to, hey.
Wasn't Val Kilmer, was he Batman as well? Was he in it?
Couple movies.
Did he come back?
There's no way, because he's not.
Oh, that's right, his voice. I forgot.
Yeah,
From Maverick, sorry. Yeah.
He's not doing anything. So did you guys bring any other did you knows? Did you knows?
Well, I mean, on the UFO topic, I thought it was interesting that I don't know if everybody knows this, and I can't remember what documentary or wherever I saw it, but what's his name? Kurt Russell. The Phoenix Lights incident, which was also was that the 90s too? Was that around the same time as these?
I believe so. That was when they came out with that fictitious alien when the governor.
Right.
Or was it the mayor?
Well, they were mocking it, which
they
is
were
what
mocking
you do.
it, right?
Yeah. So the Phoenix Lights incident was witnessed basically by everybody in Phoenix.
Okay.
And so have you seen a little bit of that,
Nope.
or just kind of like a triangle of what that look kind of like flares, just in a triangular pattern, V shape. Except multiple witnesses see this black craft blocking out stars that's moving across the sky. So
so you see the outline. Would that look like flares? But if you're actually witnessing it, it's blacking out the rest of the sky. Got it.
And similar to something that just came out fairly recently that Corbell and Knapp were kind of promoting, which was some witnesses saw what was a training exercise, and there were flares in the shape of a triangle, and they're like, there's a craft, and it's like, nah, those are flares. So, but I think that's what you do if there's a real incident, if it was a real incident. Then how do you get people to not believe it? You create this scenario where you can prove it's obviously not the case,
and then you focus all your energy on that.
Correct. Now, so there's all these witnesses that see this thing, and it was like a mile wide and just this huge thing, and it kind of went across Phoenix and maybe another city in Arizona, and I don't know, disappeared, and. So one of the witnesses was Kurt Russell, who has a pilot's license, and he was in the air.
Okay, so
he tells this story about seeing this weird formation of lights and talking to, and if I remember right, he talked to you talk to the people on the ground, the airline.
Traffic control.
Yeah, air traffic control.
And they're like, no, we don't see anything where you're looking. It was a weird thing, and he saw it, and then he landed and didn't think anything of it. Didn't know anything about the Phoenix Lights incident or anything until it was a documentary.
Was she with him?
I don't know.
That'd be quite the interview.
But
this is Overboard 2.
Yeah. Overboard spaceship version.
There we go.
So he was watching, like, the TV was on, and he saw I guess it was either a documentary or someone bringing up what had happened, and he looks and he's like, oh my god, I saw that.
Okay.
And so he was in an interview, like he was sitting on a couch, so it was like one of the late night shows or something where he talked about this on TV.
Okay.
And it's just fascinating because he's like, I didn't tell anybody. I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was just like a weird thing, and I didn't know what it was. I just assumed it was, I don't know,
some sort of strange anomaly that he
formation
forgot about. Realized it was a big UFO story
or something.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
I did not know that.
I'll bring up. Did you know? This past weekend I went down to St. Pete, Tampa. Sent you guys some pictures from the USS American Victory.
Yes.
So did you know there's only
the
4? Yeah. Christian asked me in the text. He goes, "Where are you at, man?" I was like, "The Ozarks." And he's like, "There's a World War II ship down here."
I didn't follow up on that. I was like, what?
Yeah, then I followed up. I gave it some time, and then I said, "Just kidding," down here in Tampa. But I went to visit the Florida Aquarium that's in Tampa, and now that I got my scuba diver license, I'm trying to learn a little bit more about all the fish in the sea and the different things you can see in different places around the world. And so
fish in the sea.
Yeah. when saw that, it was, anyway, just give it a plug for the Florida Aquarium. It's fantastic. Sharks, eels, monstrous tank. I mean, they even have weddings in this place. It's phenomenal.
That's down in the Tampa area.
It's downtown Tampa. It's next to the Tampa Bay Lightning Arena.
Interesting.
The NHL team downtown.
My favorite spot has been 10 years at least since I've been there, but the Salvador Dali Museum is nearby in the Tampa area, and if you ever get a chance to go check that out, that's cool.
Okay.
Because you've seen all of the...
If I hadn't told you I was in the Ozarks, maybe you would have told me about it.
Yeah, because you guys have seen all of the paintings, you've seen the books, right? You've seen pictures of this just ridiculously surreal, trippy type stuff. What you don't realize is when you go to his museum, it's how massive some of these paintings are and how detailed they are in person, up close. And that's what I'm just like, dude, this guy was awesome.
That's cool. How long would you say to peruse that museum?
Half a day at least.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it was I don't know, 26 or 7.
Is it downtown?
It's outside of Tampa. I couldn't tell you exactly where. It's been a while, but that just stuck with me as one of my favorite things. So I spent several months in the Bradenton area doing baseball related stuff in a different lifetime.
Mm-hmm. You play baseball?
Yeah. I did. I don't anymore.
Around a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't. Do you guys follow Big League Baseball at all? Do you guys follow it closely at all?
Like Major League
Do you
Baseball?
follow the Royals at all?
I can't say that I do. I think the All-Star game's this week. There was a celebrity game last night, I believe. Celebrity softball last night, and I know it's in Seattle because went to go visit my brother in Portland, and I was thinking about, maybe staying or taking a drive up to Seattle to watch the All-Star game. So I know it's there. But anyway, back in Tampa, adjacent from the Florida Aquarium is the USS American Victory. So it is one of 4 fully operational World War II ships still in existence. But I highly encourage everybody to go check it out. It is, I basically had the whole ship to myself just walking around this thing. They had a midget German sub inside, and it was a cargo ship.
I wish you hadn't finished that with sub. For some reason, I thought you had a midget German on the ship.
I was like, this just got really interesting.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's why you listen to full sentences.
That's right.
No, but anyway, it was like, I just love history anyway, but it was a 2-person sub, and it wasn't much larger than a torpedo. So they would carry a torpedo on each side of it, and it would only be just over 30 feet long, maybe 35 feet long. Torpedoes are about 28, 25 feet. And they sat back to back. It was almost like you were rowing in a canoe, and they would sit in these things for 4 hours, and they wouldn't have any bathroom. It would, no air conditioning, anything like that. So you can just imagine being in these midget subs in World War II, and then, this was a cargo ship, and so it had multiple levels of just, wide open space, and it did have guns, different areas of gunnery, gun machines, and it also had, you could go in the kitchen area, you go in the officers' quarters, you can, go where they slept and where they, the rest
Sounds
of
like
the head.
Aircraft carriers and San Diego you go to.
Yeah, and then this saw real action in World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam. So it was in 3 different wars, and man, it was awesome. So definitely encourage folks that are in the Tampa area to go check that out. The Tampa airport is gorgeous.
We have a massive Tampa following on the podcast.
Yeah, for the tens of folks that listen.
I would also encourage everyone to check out the USS Missouri in the movie Battleship. You get a pretty good tour of that too.
Cool. In the movie Battleship?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think USS Alabama was another fully operational one. And then there's 2 more. I can't remember where those are located, but
yeah. Well, right on. Good show, guys. Nice job. That's how you end the podcast.